Welcome into the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Got a good show today, folks. Dumb Crimes, Stupid Criminals coming up in just a bit. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about a book that I read over the weekend. Now, we're a true crime show, but occasionally we like to venture off into fiction because there are some really, really good fiction books out there. I read one over the weekend called Smileforthecameras. Our guest today is Miranda Smith. And this book, folks, I think you're going to enjoy. You know, there's those books out there that get people together into a scenario where everyone is trapped, right? In the same house. It's one of those thrillers, one of those classic horror thrillers that I know you guys like, that you tell me, especially on Darkness Radio, you tell me about, you love to read, the whodunits, the ones that you love to jump into, that you just can't figure out who did it at the end. This is one of those. And I want to talk to Miranda Smith today about Smileforthecameras, because Smileforthecameras, a novel, is one of those great books indeed. And I want you to get into it and get it because it's available today. Today is the launch date. So we're going to get into it right away. Let me tell you a little bit about Miranda before we get into it today. Our guest, Miranda Smith, writes psychological and domestic suspense novels. Her work often focuses on complicated women, dark impulses, and Southern settings. Sounds good to me. She is drawn to stories about ordinary people in extraordinary situations. Let's bring her in for the first time to Darkness Radio, Miranda Smith. Hi, Miranda. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And I tell you, from having read this book from cover to cover, I'm even better and shocked. I'll tell you that.
That's great to hear. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for your kind words about Smileforthecameras.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I like the premise. First of all, I'll tell you, I really do like the premise. It's, you know, I think as a society, we really are more than infatuated, I think, with Hollywood, right?
Yes.
I think we're on that, and we're infatuated with nostalgia. So I think you've taken Hollywood nostalgia and you've done the wonderful thing with it and it's recent nostalgia. You know, it's
Yes.
something where, you know, we can't seem to let go of even something that was only made 10, 20 years ago, right? And we love sequels. And it's this whole infatuation with, we can't let things go. And you've done a masterful job of taking all of that and kind of tugging at our heartstrings with that. So first of all, I want to tip my cap to you about that. So with that, tell us a little bit about the premise of Smileforthecameras. I know I've already given a lot away about the premise, but I'm so excited about this book. I wanted to kind of jump into it with you. Tell us a little bit about Smileforthecameras.
Well, I appreciate that. And, you know, everything you just mentioned rings true. It was heavily inspired by genre, iconic horror movies, or slasher films. Think Scream, Smileforthecameras. And really what gave me the idea was one of the more recent Scream revamps. I think it was 2022 when they announced they were having another Scream movie. They were bringing back a lot of the original cast members. And so I started thinking along those lines of how, wow, we really are obsessed with reunions and reboots and getting people back together. And I thought, how great would it be to write a story about a cult classic slasher movie where everyone gets back together for a reunion, to shoot a documentary, and bad things happen. So that's exactly what Smileforthecameras is about. It's about a woman named Ella, and she rose to fame as the final girl in a classic slasher movie called Grad Night, which over the years has just kind of gained all this popularity, and people that are obsessed with the movie, obsessed with the actors in the movie. And she reluctantly agrees to shoot a reunion documentary about the film. Her career is kind of on the rocks, and she thinks this is really her only way to get her name back out there again, is to participate in this documentary. So she goes back to East Tennessee, where the film was shot, the original set, the original cast, to shoot this documentary. And someone dressed as the original villain in the movie starts hunting them down one by one.
And that's a real basic premise. We're going to get a little bit deeper into things, including some background with Ella here too, which is really interesting. You know, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Scream remake and what kind of triggered some stuff with you here, because I have my feelings about it too, about the remake. To me, it felt contrived. Did it feel contrived to you? Did it feel like maybe it was a reach for you, or did it feel organic? What were your feelings about it?
I enjoyed it in the sense that I just love the franchise. And again, talking about nostalgia, even if something doesn't just completely grab me right away, it brings me back to the feelings I had when I watched the first Scream movies, growing up watching those. So I enjoyed them. I think they were really trying to harness that balance between giving the original fans what they love about the franchise, giving them what they want, and then bringing in new fans. I think sometimes that can be really difficult to try and speak to an original audience while attracting a new audience at the same time.
As someone, as a creative person, as an author, as someone who's deep in creativity all the time and trying to find a new angle, is it impossible to keep doing chapters of an original material and then say, you know what, I'm going to step away from it for that amount of time and then come back and say, you know what, I'm going to make it fresh again and try to reach to a new audience and not and still cater in fan service to that original audience? Can you split your focus and make something for everyone?
I try to just tell the best story possible. And this question reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from the book, Save the Cat Writes a Novel by Jessica Brody. If you're familiar with that, Save the Cat is a famous book about screenwriting. And she adapted that to novel writing. And she says something along the lines of coming up with something original is impossible in novel writing. What readers want is fresh. So I really think that when you look at the best books, the best movies, it's when you take a familiar idea that audiences love and find a way to modernize it and make it fresh. And I think that's what a lot of these horror remakes and reboots try to do. And that's definitely what I was trying to do with Smile for the Cameras.
Yeah, and it does definitely come away fresh. There's a lot to it without giving away any spoilers
Yeah.
or anything. It does definitely come away fresh, and I think the ending will surprise a lot of people. It definitely comes out of left field and kind of smacks you upside the head, right? Um, what let's talk a little bit about the characters here in a bit. I do want to address one of the things that's interesting, and that is, you know, a lot of times when Hollywood goes for, and the premise that you have here in the book is interesting in that it's not so much that they're getting the cast together to make a whole new movie, because in the original movie Grad Night,
Mm-hmm.
almost everyone dies except for the final girl. What they're doing is there's a financier, for lack of a better term, a fan slash financier who gets together and says, you know what, or a director, producer gets together and says, I want to make a documentary to get everybody together to do a little bit of fan service and put everybody together for 2 days and film a big documentary slash interview and basically give the fans what they want, get everybody together one last time, because it's not been done in 20 years to get everybody in the same room to talk about this movie,
Yeah.
because there's some unanswered questions about the behind the scenes of this movie. It's become such a cult classic that there's there's questions about the minutia of this movie. Now,
Mm-hmm.
with that big preamble to this question here, Miranda, I ask you this: is there maybe, as a society, as an entertainment society, do we want to see too much about how the sausage is made? Should we maybe just enjoy the product for what it is? Should we just stop already with wanting to know how it's made?
I think that there is a big obsession in breaking that fourth wall and seeing what goes on behind the scenes, um, especially in more recent years. Um, I think a lot of that goes back to the fact that we are having reunions. One that comes to mind that was huge in just recent years is the Friends reunion, where we got them all together finally again in the same place, and they're talking about different things that the audience didn't know about the making of those episodes in this iconic show. Um, in some ways that kind of takes away the magic of what you're creating. But I think that there's definitely a segment of the population that wants to know those behind the scenes stories. Um, Another movie that comes to mind more in the dark horror genre is the film Poltergeist. I mean, there was so much lore about the making of that film and things that happened, and was it cursed? Um, you almost have as many people as interested in that as they are in the film itself. So whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know, but I definitely think that audiences um, like learning about how some of their favorite franchises come together.
I guess the reason why I find it a bit disturbing is, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've been in workplaces where even though the magic can be amazing, the chemistry can be amazing, maybe the real life chemistry between the two people, I mean, the work chemistry is amazing, but maybe the personal chemistry isn't great. I mean,
Right.
maybe it's not the best of buds. Maybe it's not. I can think of a great example that I can bring up here on air, and that is we had a. I'm not going to name the radio station, but we had a radio station where we had a host on air who was he would read news. It was a news format, and he was a news host. But boy, did he have a temper! I mean, incredibly talented voice guy, news guy, host. But man, his shit didn't stink, and he walked on water, right? I mean, that was the kind of guy he
Right,
was.
right,
But people never got that; they never saw that side of him.
right.
He always portrayed that friendly news guy. He never showed that side. But people always want to know more about that guy who's in their car, you know,
Mm-hmm.
as he accompanies them to work, accompanies them, on their daily journey. And you don't want to break that fourth wall and say, you don't really want to get to know the guy because he doesn't want to get to know you. That
Right.
you don't want to ruin that illusion. You just don't.
It's
Uh,
interesting. My sister and I were having a similar conversation this weekend about how um, upsetting it is when you have an actor, a celebrity, a writer that really admire and you just think they're great. You really love their work. And then you hear from people who've worked with them behind the scenes that maybe they are not the best person, or maybe they're, kind of um, a diva, or, mean to the people that they work with. And yeah, I mean, it kind of takes away a little bit of that magic that you were talking about.
Yeah, and the one thing I think we all need to realize that we don't is this is really a job for a lot of actors. It is a job.
Right.
And they although you'd like to get along with your castmates, and although you'd like to have a great relationship, sometimes it's oil and water. Whether it's a
Yeah.
matter of different forms of acting and you just don't see eye to eye as to what you're doing, or whether it's just personality and chemistry. Like you just meet somebody and you just don't like them, they rub you the wrong way. That
Right.
can happen on a set, right? It can happen in any workplace. And maybe there's just times where we don't need to know it. Like
Yeah.
I don't need to know that those two people fought because maybe they had a great relationship on screen, and what that tension worked because maybe they were rivals on screen and they used
Right.
that tension to put in a great performance. Maybe I don't need to know. I don't need to know what stoked that fire, right? And
No, no, I agree.
yeah, and sometimes maybe a little too much information is a little too much information. There's just sometimes where I go, I don't know that I needed to know that. But I guess at that I'll jump off my soapbox. We'll get back into the actual bit of the story here before we go to break. One of the things I found interesting is we're world building here in the story in Smile for the Cameras. Is it seems like each one of the cast members, as they're launching forward into their Hollywood journeys, really has not had the best upbringing. It seems like they're rushing towards stardom, or they're rushing towards the light of stardom because they have a dark upbringing. Is that intentional?
I think as far as when I was creating these characters, I think they're all very, very different. They approach their craft in different ways. Their personalities are different. But that is one way that I wanted to unify them, in that they are all seeking escape. Um, and I don't know very many actors in real life. I don't know if that is a common thread, but certainly in the characters I created, um, they have challenging upbringings. They are uncomfortable in their own skin, especially when they're filming the actual movie. They're all much younger, they're in their 20s, and they're still kind of figuring out who they are. So that was one way I wanted to kind of bring all these very different characters together. Obviously, they're physically together in the same space making this movie, but give them a way to connect with one another, and that they're just early 20s, figuring out who they are in the world. Um, and they're able to do that through their jobs.
It makes for, if I may, it just makes for a very not only interesting dynamic between all of them, but it makes for a very uncomfortable feeling as everything's being set, because you've not only do they not know who they are, and they're uncomfortable in their own skin, but they're uncomfortable amongst each other to begin with, and then they make uncomfortable choices
Yes.
because of their backgrounds as well. So, uh, and then they're uncomfortable as they're shooting, and so they're kind of feeling their way around in the dark everywhere,
Yeah.
and yeah, it really interesting, interesting choices, interesting dynamics, and it keeps you on edge throughout the entire book. So it was, yeah, yeah, very interesting stuff.
Well, good. Thank you. With crime fiction, especially, we're always trying to create the most dread and make life just as uncomfortable and threatening as possible for our characters, which sounds really cruel. But yeah, if there's a way that I can up that feeling of dread, then that's what I try to do.
Yeah, no, every single character here, and we'll get to some of those characters here in a moment. They all have this uneasiness to them. This, even the most confident characters have a little picadillo about them that is an insecure one, that you can just pluck that string at any time, and you can bring them right back to a base where they're not sure of themselves. So,
Yeah.
yeah, very interesting stuff. Before we go to break, let's talk a little bit about Ella. Ella is probably, and not only is she the final girl in the star, she's also the one who probably has the most insecurity among
Mm-hmm.
everyone. And it really starts because her main support system has been taken from her. You need to talk to me a little bit about why. I won't say why, but talk to me a little bit about her mother, and why she's so insecure now that her mother is gone. She hasn't taken strength from the fact that her mother's gone, but instead the floor has dropped out from beneath her.
Yeah. Well, in the present timeline, um, Ella's mother has just passed. That's not really spoiling anything because we get to that within the first chapter of the book. And this is kind of what pushes her to restart her acting career. So, she was in the spotlight for several years, came to fame playing the final girl in the movie Grad Night. But when her mother was sick, she kind of used that as an opportunity to move away from the Hollywood, New York life and just spend some quality time with her mother. And I think part of that is because she wants to be around her mother and she wants to help her mother. And I think also part of that is using it as an excuse because she isn't comfortable in her own skin and in this environment that she works in. But after her mother's passing, you know, she's just kind of starting fresh all over again. And we don't have just too many scenes between Ella and her mother in the book, but I do think there's an interesting dynamic there in that she mentions, you know, her love of movies, her love of acting and performing came from her mother. Her mother once had these dreams for herself, and there's a line in the book where she can't quite remember when her dream started and when her mother's ended. Is she just finishing her mother's dream of stardom? So I think even that, growing up in that environment with her mom and then losing her mom, also impacts her um, loss of identity, which is essentially what she's searching for throughout the movie, or the book. She is
Yeah.
essentially searching for her, um, who she really is and who she wants to be in this world.
And it's interesting how, as because the book goes back and forth between now present tense, and it goes back to when they're shooting the original movie, so you get to see, you flash back between now and then, and so you get to compare and contrast, and you flash back between the two time periods, so you get to see the events of what happened back then versus now, um, because there is a tie between the two, and there's revelations between the two that get you to present day, which explains why the killer is doing what the killer is doing,
Mm-hmm.
the present day killer, um, which is a brilliant bit of storytelling on your part. I might add, normally it's some people don't use the flashback, I think, in an appropriate way, or they use it as a way to jumble up the reader, to confuse them, to throw them off the scent. I think in your case, you've used the flashback in a brilliant way of storytelling, to give people perspective of these characters, in telling that story of, and in developing the actual characters along the way. So you get an idea of how they've come along in years, not just a way to confuse the reader. I've seen a lot of fiction writing, just a way to jumble up the story, to kind of it's kind of a scramble to get you to go, well, wait a minute, what's happening here? But this is definitely a very good way of, you've used it eloquently to tell the story, which I commend you for as well. Tell
Very
you what,
much.
let's take our break here,
Okay.
and when we come back, I want to talk about some of the other characters here in the cast that uh, are uh, not only surrounding Ella and supporting Ella, but potentially are threatening Ella.
Okay.
That's a good way of putting it. And we'll talk about the actual killer in the movie, not the killer, but the killer in the movie, and what's going on with the killer in the movie, and I'll tease it that way, and why that killer in the movie is not in the reunion, because
Okay.
it's a little bit of an interesting story too. I find that kind of interesting and ironic, and I want to ask and draw a parallel there. I hope it's not too much of a spoiler, but if it is, you tell me. Okay.
Okay.
When we come back, more with Miranda Smith. The book is quite good, amazing, folks. You got to get it. It's available today, so go get it wherever you get your books. Smile for the Camera. We have a link in the description of this program, so you can go get that book. So go get it during the break. Smile for the Camera is a novel. It is available right now. When we come back, we'll talk about some of these other cast members, and we'll also get into the director producer of this film, who has his own interesting story. He's Hollywood royalty.
Right. Right.
He's a little bit more than that. When we come back, more about the cast of Grad Night next on True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. My guest is Miranda Smith. The name of the book is Smile for the Cameras, a novel. Focuses on the cast of the fictional horror movie and reunion of the cast of Grad Night. And it ends up, well, in a dangerous way. We'll put it that way. Um, it's probably the best way to put it without any spoilers. Miranda, before we went to break, we were talking a little bit about Ella, who's the final girl in the movie, and a bit about her upbringing and her background. Let's talk a little bit about the cast.
Okay.
And then we'll talk a little bit about the producer director of this movie, who's himself quite the character, and I found incredibly interesting. And kind of a reflection of Hollywood in itself right now. And because I have to ask you who the inspiration for that character was, really. Um, I want to talk a little bit. Speaking of inspirations, I want to talk a little bit about Leo first. Who Leo, for lack of a better term, is a love interest, right? For our main character. Is that a good way of putting it?
Yes. And so we mentioned earlier when we were getting into the premise of the book that, Ella is very reluctant to return for this reunion documentary for a multitude of reasons. One of those being that her love interest in the film is her ex-boyfriend. And so there's that awkward reunion just between the two of them, and that they had this relationship, it fizzled out. Leo has since gone on to be a huge star. He's arguably the most successful cast member in the franchise. And so just being stuck in this place with him, with all their romantic history, kind of being overshadowed in the light of all of his success, it's a very challenging spot for Ella to be in.
And Leo has since Grad Night has gone on, he's really developed quite the Hollywood career. I mean, he's the
Yeah.
polished actor who's gone on and made it. I mean, he basically
Yeah.
took Grad Night and took it as a springboard, and he's gone and done wonderful things with it.
Yeah. My inspiration behind that was, and again, not one character is based on any one actor, but we know these different actors out there. I think a lot of times you see young actors and they're afraid to get into genre film,
Mhm.
horror films or romance films, and being typecast as that character, and never being able to break out. And Leo is an example of someone who has completely done that. He was able to raise his status, his celebrity, by doing this franchise film and then break away. I mean, one really good example, I guess, would be Jamie Lee Curtis. She, the most famous final girl, and now an Oscar winner. She's done so much, but I think a lot of times, you don't always see that rise with every actor in a film, but for Leo, it's all worked out.
Why do you suppose horror is such a hard genre to break out of and cross over and become a multi-million dollar leading man or woman out of? Why is it the hardest genre to break out of?
Again, I don't really know why. I write this book from the perspective of a fan and a consumer of media myself. I grew up reading these types of books, watching these kinds of films. I don't have any behind the scenes, experience myself. But I think just as a viewer that, horror gets a bad rap a lot. People think it's easy or it's too violent. And, if someone is going to, you know, um, join a franchise, especially if they're actually part of the franchise, and going to be in multiple films, featuring the same storyline, I think people just assume that maybe they don't have range, that's all they can do is just kind of scream and be scared. And again, I think we can think of several examples like Jamie Lee Curtis that prove that that's not true.
Mhm.
Um, Stars that have branched out beyond that. But yeah, sometimes I think horror gets a bad rap, um, which I don't like, because I love horror. Obviously, it's why
Yeah.
I wrote this book. So
The most tragic example I can think of that, having met him myself, is Robert Englund. I mean, you talk about a man who's incredibly talented, an incredibly talented actor who should have branched out beyond the Freddy Krueger character and done amazing things in Hollywood.
yeah,
Um, who should have really been able to do anything. I mean, he's a highly trained actor, and it seems like everybody wants to pigeonhole him back into that character. They want to throw him in that character and force him to stay there. And he's so much more than that. And it's frustrating. At least for me, it's frustrating. I want to see him as so much more than that. And it seems like a lot of people don't. I don't get that.
Yeah, I think, we have to give artists the ability to branch out and try other things because we can be very, very pleasantly surprised. And I hope this isn't getting too close to another question you planned on asking, but he was definitely one of my big inspirations for the character of Rhodes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
he was he was definitely someone who was in my mind when I was creating that character. Um, Certain people, for whatever reasons, they just become the face of the genre, and people don't really acknowledge them for anything else. And I think some people lean into that and really enjoy it. But yeah, I mean, it's always nice when you can give artists the opportunity to branch out and explore other fields.
Let's talk about Rhodes real quick. We'll make that transition. I think we can leave Leo where he is right now. We'll come back to Leo in a little bit and talk a little bit about Leo and Ella's relationship in a moment.
Okay.
But let's talk about Rhodes for a quick moment because there's an interesting parallel here between Ella's mother and Rhodes, isn't there?
Yeah.
Um, Rhodes is brought into the production as already a huge star within the genre, playing playing the main villain. Um, and there's a secret that even the cast doesn't know about when Cole, the director producer, brings him in. But he's although he's an integral part of the cast and interacting with the cast, he's kind of hovering around the cast. I mean, there's a reverence for him.
Mhm.
They're all interacting with him, but it seems like he's there, but he's kind of a I don't want to say a ghost around the cast, but he's not quite a part of the gang. You get that feeling. I mean, is that am I getting the right impression here, Miranda? Is that the impression I'm supposed to get?
Yeah, I mean that was kind of intentional when I was creating the cast. So, Grad Night, much like the book itself, is a locked room movie. We have a very small cast in this movie, and we basically have, our four rowdy teenagers and then the villain that is hunting them down. A pretty standard horror premise. Um, and I think where the biggest thing that separates Rhodes from the rest of the cast is obviously his age. He's a lot older than them, and his experience in the film industry. Um, from the moment we meet him, we're told that he's this great character actor who has played lots of characters um, over the years in different types of TV shows and movies, and his role in Grad Night is really kind of what he becomes known for after that. But the rest of the cast are younger cast members in their 20s. They're this is for many of them is their first major project, and so I think um, he just has a little more experience. He knows who he is. The other four are kind of clinging to each other, and so yeah, I would say that was my intention in kind of separating him a little bit. He's an adult. He knows who he is. He's a professional, while these other four are just kind of flailing. And that's a big part of the identity theme as well, is I think, every, at least for me in my 20s were all about trying to figure out who I was. And I think a lot of people in their 20s can relate to that. Even if you think you know who you are, you haven't quite nailed it down just yet.
Right.
Um, so that's definitely something that's going to separate him from the rest of the cast.
And with that, it kind of seems like he's open to advice if they want to come to him, but at the same time, he's not going to force himself on anybody if that's the case as well.
Yeah.
Um, but there's that parallel there between Ella's mother and him, and there is that big secret. I don't know if you want to reveal that big secret or not. That's there. That is unveiled towards the end of shooting. Is that something you want to keep under your hat, or do you want to tell people?
Well, we'll keep that under the hat, but I will say that, I agree, and that was another thing that I was, trying to put forward, these mentor characters. Obviously Ella is heavily influenced by her mother, and even though Rhodes is kind of on the outside of the group, when he does interact with them, he kind of presents himself as this mentor or father figure. So yeah, there are definitely some parallels
Yeah,
there.
very interesting indeed. Um, so Leo and Ella have this interesting dynamic between them, in that he's very charismatic. Um, so I guess I'm trying to get a picture in my head of who you're drawing inspiration from. Did you have one actor in mind when you are coming up with this character?
With Leo, I was just trying to envision, a flashy, successful, handsome alpha type. And so, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio, I mean, I
Mhm.
think that's where I leaned into the name Leo. I
Yeah,
mean, I just think he's like your essential movie star, or someone like Chris Evans, who, Captain America, although he's done a lot of roles as well too. Um, but yeah, those were two actors that were in my mind when I was trying to create how big of a star I wanted Leo to be in the
yeah,
present.
yeah. And it came off as kind of a sensitive, very smooth, very lines come very quickly off the top of the head, suave, debonair,
Yeah.
very ladies' man type of guy. And it seems like he goes in very quickly and knows everything and the right thing to say when it comes to Ella, who seems very skittish. That's the best way of putting it when it comes to any man, especially with the amount of trauma she's seen in her life. But it seems like Leo has the right thing to say when it comes to everything in their relationship, and their relationship doesn't fit easily. It's not an easy fit, but
Mhm.
eventually it does fit. It feels like eventually she kind of succumbs and says, "Okay, I'll let you into my world."
Mhm.
Um, to me, that feels more like a relationship that would happen between creative people. It doesn't. And I give kudos to you in that the relationships that happen in this movie do feel in this movie. Listen to me, I'm saying it in this movie, and it's a book.
I know it's very meta, a movie within a book.
Right. No, but it does feel like an action. It's the tip of the cap to you because it does feel like I'm actually watching a movie rather than reading a book. And actually, in a movie set, it does. These do feel genuine because there's actual worries between a few of the castmates that develop relationships that the relationships are going to end at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Um, and to me, that feels real. It feels genuine. uh, because it is a short shoot, especially the original shoot, which was only a month, correct?
Yes, the original shoot was only about a month. And um, again, I've always imagined that, working in such close quarters with especially a limited cast and crew, that you would develop these relationships. And again, never having been on a movie set myself, I don't know. But in my mind, I guess I was imagining like a summer camp where everyone is just kind of leaving their regular worlds and lives and family and friends, and all just thrown in this one location for a couple of weeks. And they can form some really close ties that way. So that was a big inspiration. And then, of course, summer camps are always such a great setting in
Mhm.
horror as well. So just, yeah, that was tie in as well.
But as you pointed out, they're not together when they come to the reunion, but they had some sort of relationship after the movie originally wrapped.
Yes. So Leo and Ella, their romance kind of develops when they're shooting the set, and we get flashbacks of that in the book. But even after filming wrapped and the film came out, they're doing press for this movie. The relationship continues, and he really ends up being her first real adult, mature relationship in her life. And I think, again, that's why it's so challenging for her to be around him again for the weekend. It's not just some random ex-boyfriend, but really, her first love, the person that, she really had a connection with. And they also bond over some of the traumatic experiences that happened on set.
I want to get onto some of the other characters here. I want to talk about Riley, who's incredibly interesting in a different approach. Tell us a little bit about Riley and kind of the twist to his character, which is kind of a newer twist, having to do with sobriety. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Well, again, leaning into what we know about celebrities, and we've already talked about this obsession with celebrity culture. I definitely don't think it's a good thing when we know so much about their personal lives. And when we, a common situation we see with people that reach a very high level of success is they do struggle with addiction and sobriety. And so we see that in the character of Riley. He is the one of two leading men in the original Grad Night cast. We get to know him in the flashback chapters. But what we learn in the present is that, since then, he's really struggled with the pressures of fame and other experiences he's had that may or may not tie back to the filming of Grad Night. And one of the ways that he's really struggled is with his sobriety. He's described at one point as kind of a male version of Paris Hilton or Britney Spears. I'm sure we can all think back to those peak paparazzi years where they were being followed all the time, and just every move they made, good or bad, mostly bad, would be splashed over, over the media. Again, there's a line that, every time Riley goes to rehab, there's paparazzi outside the door, and every time he gets out, there's twice as many. People are just loving the opportunity to see him fail. And so, yeah, that's definitely in his big struggle in the years between when Grad Night was filmed and coming back for the reunion.
And then I want to talk a little bit about Aries, who's the other starlet who's on camera here, who's also incredibly complex, who seems like, and maybe even a little bit of an extrovert who may have a little bit of an introverted side to her or a caring side to her that you sometimes don't even really see. Tell us a little bit about Aries.
Yeah, Aries was a very fun character to write, and in many ways, she's a foil to Ella, in that Ella is very reserved. Ella does not know who she is. If there's one character who does seem to have a sense of identity, even in the flashback chapters, it's probably Aries. She's very confident. And I think a lot of that goes back to her background story as well. She's described as like a child star who got her start on different youth sitcoms. And so I think she has a little bit tougher skin than the rest of her castmates, a little more experience in this industry, and just a little more fully formed and mature. I think that he's someone that is put into certain boxes by the people around her, written off as maybe difficult or dramatic. At one point, she's described as the slutty sidekick, which I'm sure we can think of, that stereotype in several horror movies in the past. But there is a softer side to her, and one that I really enjoyed exploring.
Yeah, she definitely is a very one of the more colorful characters in this book that attracts your attention and draws you in. And is one of those characters that when you get a look at her, you away, right? I mean, she's that character that attracts you and brings you in, and whenever she's in that scene, you don't want to go anywhere else. You don't want to look anywhere else because
Right.
she's got that bright personality. Um, so there's a foil for Ella in this book that you've always got to keep one eye out for, and that's Monica. Can you tell us the interesting story behind Monica and why Ella's always got to keep one eye open whenever Monica's around.
So, in addition to getting to know the cast of the film, especially in the flashback chapters, we get to know the cast and crew as well. Or, excuse me, we get to know the crew. Because even though there's, 4 or 5 actors on film, we know that it takes a whole slew of people to put a production like this together. And even though this is still a pretty small group of people working, it's kind of more of an indie film. We get to meet some of the crew members. And Monica is, she works in hair and makeup. Again, this is such a small set that a lot of people are forming multiple roles, doing double duty. But she is an antagonist for Ella in that she, and I don't think this gives too much away, went after her same part. I think, again, when we're looking at the entertainment industry, there's a lot of competition there as
Mhm.
well. And you're going to have some characters that are happy for Ella and the other characters in the success, and you're going to have others that are just kind of seething with jealousy, and we get that with Monica.
There you go. And we kind of teased it before. The man who brings them all together is a producer director that is Hollywood royalty. He's and I'm curious as to who the inspiration for this is, because I think old Hollywood sometimes when I think about this, but maybe I'm wrong. Who's the inspiration for Cole?
So Cole is the director and just overall cheerleader of this entire franchise. He's a big part in getting the reunion back together in the present. But again, I can't say that I was inspired to write him using any one particular person. Basically, I tried to take all of the horror stories and negative parts of the industry that we as outsiders hear and put them together in him. It wouldn't be any fun to put Ella on her first movie and give her just a really supportive, kind-hearted director. I wanted to give her someone that's going to push her and really flare those insecurities that are already there. And so we get that with Cole. Something else that's interesting about his character, you mentioned he's Hollywood royalty, so he's not just this lover of films that went through film school and really struggled to get to where he is. But his father is described as a really big A-list uh, director, and so there's a little bit of nepotism there, and that um, basically anything he wants he gets, and there's a very obvious power imbalance already between director and cast, but then definitely between these newbies in the industry and someone who is associated with a father and a team of people that have so much power. So yeah, Cole was yet another character that was really fun to write and develop.
I guess the only other thing I can bring up is at one point Ella has two different managers. She has
Mm-hmm.
manager on the one movie, Gus, who gets her hooked on an anti-anxiety medication, which I
Mm-hmm.
found interesting. And then she has a more supportive manager, Fiona, for the
Mm-hmm.
reunion, who Fiona seems more like a sister and more supportive. Um, Gus is kind of like, you know what? Well, we throw a pill at it, just get through it, kid, type of
Right. Yes.
old Hollywood, right? Fiona's kind of new school, like, you know what? I'll go to the set with you. I'll be there with you. Two different schools of thought. And it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of, she didn't get what she needed the first time around. She got what she needed the second time around, which is an interesting compare contrast from one situation to another. Um,
Yeah, I think a lot of that again can mirror what I think a lot of us go through in life, even if whatever industry we're in, when we're young, we're starting out, we're naive, we don't have experience, and it's just kind of like anything you can get, I'll take it. You're trying to build that resume. You're not always looking out for yourself in the way you should, because you are, I hate to use the word desperate, but a lot of us are when we're starting off in our careers. We're just desperate to get out there and put our name on the map. And I can imagine that desperation being heightened in the entertainment industry, especially when you're older. You have a better sense of who you are, even though that's something that Ella's still struggling with, even in the present. You kind of have a better sense of what you are and are not willing to endure and put up with. I think there's also, something there to be said about the fact that Gus, her first manager, is a man. He kind of gives off a predatory vibe, whereas Fiona, her manager in the present, you kind of have that sisterhood, that sense of protection that we're going to look out for each other in ways that she didn't experience in the past.
So there are two other cast members I haven't mentioned. I don't know if you want to mention them or not. One is a friend to Ella, who's a member of the crew. The other is the assistant director to Cole, who's Jenny, who is going through a little bit of a tough time, but she's just waiting to get done with the shoot. Who's kind of an ancillary character, but she's important in many different ways. I don't know how much you want to go into either one of those characters.
Just that again, we get to see the dynamics between not just the crew members and Ella, but the crew members and all the other characters as well. There's a lot of overlap when it comes to the cast members and the crew. And again, I think the fact that so many of them are in their 20s, there's kind of like that sorority, fraternity, let's get together and hang out vibe going on. So Jenny's a little bit older. Jenny and is Cole's assistant director. As you said, she has a little more experience under her belt than some of the others. Petra, like Monica, is part of hair and makeup and, juggling a lot of other tasks as well. And again, represents that, I'm young, I'm here, anything you want me to do, grab coffee, I'll go do it, So getting to see the interactions between those two crew members with the rest of the cast, I think is just interesting and kind of highlights the issues that they're going through in the past, and then also how much all the characters have changed or not changed in the present.
Okay. The book's available now, folks. It's called Smile for the Cameras, a novel. We have a link in the description of this program. I highly encourage you to go get this book because, again, we're just scratching the surface with characters. We're being very careful because there are incidents in the past, there are incidents in the present. And we'll put it this way, there are plenty of characters that get dropped. I can't tell you who. I'm itching to tell you. I can't tell you. And with all due respect, there's a reason, and it's very, very interesting. It'll keep you on the edge of your seat as you're reading this book. And like I said, you get so lost in it, you really do think you're watching a movie. You're reading a book, but you really do think you're involved in a movie and on a movie set. That's how into this book you do get. And for those of you who are really into the horror movie genre, you can honestly read this book and see this being made as a movie. I mean, as I'm reading this book, Miranda, I'm seeing it in my mind on the big screen. I had certain actors already in my head for every single one of these roles. So I really do think you got a winner here. I really do.
I really appreciate that, as a fan of all crime fiction, but especially, I grew up in the 90s, early 2000s, really loving these slasher movies. And at the time they terrified me, but even now, if I catch them on TV, they just bring back so much joy because I can remember, how I felt at the time watching them. And like we talked about at the beginning of the show, a lot of these have been remade, reboots, just next month, the new I Know What You Did Last Summer is coming out. So
Yeah.
um but yeah, so it was definitely fun to kind of incorporate my love and obsession with all these things into one story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, folks, go get it right now. It's available wherever you get your books, but we do have a link in the description of this program. Smile for the Cameras and Novels available right now. Miranda Smith, I want to thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, and I am so happy that you enjoyed the book, and just thank you for all your kind words about it.
Thank you. Folks, it's time for us to lighten things up a little bit. It's time now to bring in Jessica Freeburg, and it's time for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
And it's that time again, the time you've all been looking forward to. It's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals. And as they used to say in the old days, stop, collaborate, and listen. We actually have an intro for today that was written by Eric for our co-hostess today. And it goes like this. I have to get my movie announcer voice on. In a world gone mad, humankind soars closer to the brink of its own undoing. Mainstream media and the free press has fallen into the clutches of those who would obfuscate truth with cloaks of lies and deception. Out from this troubled and dystopian age rises one whom would hold forth the blazing beacon of truth to cast away the darkness of ignorance, leading us even closer towards truth and freedom. She's so good, it's nearly paranormal. Here she is, Jessica Freeburg.
Holy cow, that was amazing.
Yeah, that comes from our friend Eric. So there you go.
Wow, Eric, you're quite the wordsmith. I sound so cool.
Yeah, better than I could do. And my goofy little tropes at the beginning of this deal.
I think you always do a nice job, Tim, but that was fun.
That kind of gave you a little chill down your spine, didn't it?
Did. I mean, it's like rock star introduction or something.
Kind of is.
There was like cool music playing in my mind as I was listening
Was there?
to
Yeah,
it.
I should have had the symphony thing going in the background to really. I wanted to give you the full word effect of it, but
It was so good. Well done, sir.
yeah. Well done, Eric. Well done. I like the whole in a world. Just trying to ham up as much as I could.
You nailed it.
I gave it a shot. Lots of dumb crimes, lots of stupid criminals are not safe for work today is a little unusual. I think people are celebrating the end of the Diddy trial by getting their freak on.
No.
In the freakiest, criminalist way. We'll update you on that at the end of the program. And our palate cleanser today is truly about stupid people putting their foot in their mouth or putting their best foot forward and getting it shocked back. We'll explain at the end of the program. But here we go. There's a serious crime that has a weird twist that we're starting out with today, and then we'll jump into dumb crimes, stupid criminals. You might have heard about this gun-wielding attacker that was killed at a church in suburban Detroit. There was a gunman that opened fire at Cross Point Community Church in Wayne, Michigan yesterday. He was shot by the security guard. But what's interesting about this story, folks, is the way, I don't mean to laugh at this, Jess, but the way the gunman was caught. Let's put it this way. Jesus says to turn the other cheek, right? At this church in Wayne, Michigan, evidently Jesus says, run him over with your truck. That's the only way you're going to catch him, son.
Is that what he did?
This has got to be the most violent church I think you could go to. And this gunman done effed up. Let's just put it that way.
He went to the wrong church.
He went to the wrong church. A gunman opened fire during a service at a suburban Detroit church Sunday, wounding one person before he was shot and killed by a security guard. Now, more and more churches, Jess, since the gun epidemic is spread in America are putting armed security guards in their churches. The person was shot in the person shot in the leg was a security guard, according to what the church's pastor told the Detroit News. No one else was hurt in part because a church member ran the attacker over with a truck. That according to the Cross Point Community Church pastor, Bobby Kelly Jr. Ricky Bobby Kelly Jr. It has to be a NASCAR church if you're running people over.
It has to be.
Right. The shooting happened at Cross Point in Wayne, a city about 17,000 people, at about 11 a.m., Kelly Jr. told the Detroit News. Kelly said the security guard had time to shoot the attacker because the attacker was run over by a church member driving a truck. So somewhere in there, between the collection plate being passed and communion being done, gunman comes in, bang, shoots a security guard in the leg, and someone goes, "I'm going to get in my truck and run that sumbitch over." And the pursuit begins.
I wonder what kind of truck it was. Was it a Ford or Chevy? Which one is the best for such tasks?
It's Detroit. It's a Ford.
And
I'm
sense.
nothing over an F1, or it's nothing under an F-150. It's probably got to be 250 or 350. My guess it's probably still a gas job, probably not a diesel job because you got to let diesel warm up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got to be a 250.
That's a big old truck.
Big old truck. And although it could have been a Dodge, could have been a Hemi, could have had some power.
Dodge Ram. A Dodge Ram would make sense.
Dodge Ram right to the forehead. Boom. Oh boy. He was run over by one of our members who saw this happening when he was coming into church, Kelly said to the newspapers. He's driving in, and then he sees a gunman go, coming out of the church, and I'm going to run that sumbitch over. Police described the slain intruder as 31-year-old white male. In a statement shortly before noon on Sunday, authorities asked the public to avoid the area around the church, saying the investigation into the violence there remained active. About 150 people were attending the service at the time, including children, Kelly said. Congregants' startled reaction to the gunfire on Sunday was captured on the service's online live stream, which had to be a nightmare. Kelly told the Detroit News that members of the Cross Point Church started a security team about a decade ago in response to violence at other places of worship around the U.S., although his congregation in Wayne had not received threats of violence. "We are sitting ducks to someone who wants to come and do harm," Kelly said to the newspaper. Kelly reportedly added that the children in attendance on Sunday were doing good after the attack and that congregants were supporting each other. He told the Detroit News his church would put a formal plan in place for the aftermath of Sunday. Now, of course, I'm not condoning violence in any way against any church or any, and I'm not making light of it. I'm just saying, well, I am making a little light of it. I'm not, okay, I won't lie there. But it's just that, man, talk about the odds, the timing, and an eye for an eye, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the gunman does get the best of the security guard that's there. He ends up putting one in the leg, and then he's about to get out of there. But as he's about to get out of there, here comes a parishioner with a big old truck and decides, I'm going to take the guy out and gets him.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I'm glad no one else was hurt, honestly.
That's true, which just goes to show the best weapon against a gun is a truck. So we need to start.
Take away my right to bear arms, but don't you dare take away my truck.
That's right. You can, yeah. You can take all the guns away now. You just arm people with trucks. Demolition derbies. That's how we solve things now, Jess. Demolition derbies.
Wait, that guy was resourceful. He had to do what he had to do.
Yeah. See? That's how it's done, folks. Demolition derbies and robot smash 'em ups on TV. That's how we solve things from now on. See, if you can't have a sense of humor about it, what can you have?
You gotta laugh. What else can you do, Tim? The world's a crazy place.
Oh, it's gone nuts. The whole world's lost its goddamn mind. That's all I know. Yep. Onward and forward, shall we? Another story about smash 'em up. so to speak. But this guy had a little bit too much in him at the time. Man's arrested for DUI after crashing into a Fresno backyard, falling asleep on a patrol car, all in the same afternoon. So he's had a long afternoon, Jess. He crashes into a backyard. They get him out of the patrol car. They start to wrap him up and say, you're going to need to get in the back of this patrol car. He says, not until I have a little nappy poo. Been a long day. We go to Fresno, California, where with this particular gentleman, who's a little sleepy boy. Look at him. He's a little sleepy boy. Look at him, just little sleepy boy.
Ooh, he's tired.
He is tired. Look at him. It's like he needs a little blankie and a binky and maybe his little teddy bear. The California Highway Patrol says a man was arrested for suspicion of driving under the influence after they say he crashed through a brick wall and ended up in a backyard. They say the car continued through the yard after it went through the brick wall, coming to rest inches from a children's play structure.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The driver was not hurt. Too bad. But officers say he was so intoxicated that he slept on the hood of the patrol car, making a field sobriety test unnecessary. That's when you know you've had a bit too much.
He's just a heavy sleeper, Tim. He's not passed out. He's just really, really tired.
They say, we like you to blow into this, sir. Would you wake up so we can have you blow into this? Never mind. We'll just take you. The driver, again, not hurt. The California Highway Patrol reminds drivers that DUI is 100% preventable. I can't believe I had to read that sentence. The California Highway Patrol reminds drivers that DUI is 100% preventable. First of all, don't put the liquor to your lips. Second, if you do, don't drive. It's
pretty easy math.
Two-step process. Yeah, it's preventable. Because of the man's poor decision to drink and drive, he went to jail and faces expensive attorney, courtroom fees, and all fines, not to mention damages to the property in the car. That seems kind of like, no duh, right?
Yes.
You could have avoided this. You could have avoided the nap on the hood. All's well that ends well, right? And another bit of irony. Now, we have a gentleman here that did a little bit of bring your work to work day. Now, I know you say, well, Tim, that's called work. But literally, when you work at the San Francisco Sheriff's Office as the chief of staff, you don't want to be the one reporting your own crime.
Ooh, no.
Well, it turns out over the weekend, he was booked after a hit and run and now has to face the media to tell the media that, hey, I was booked on a hit and run and I made bail.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. The San Francisco Sheriff's Office Chief of Staff, Richard Jew, was booked into the county jail Sunday after an alleged off-duty hit and run where he falsely provided information regarding the incident and the accident. So he got in the hit and run and said, I'm not who you think I am. Even though he probably worked with a lot of those people. And
you think they might recognize him.
Yeah, they might know him from around the office. Hey, aren't you Richard? No, nothing to see here. Jew was booked with a $7,500 bail for 2 misdemeanor charges, which include giving false information to a peace officer and a hit and run charge. The sheriff's office holds all members, regardless of rank or role, to the highest ethical and professional standards. Sheriff Paul Miyamoto said in a statement provided by the sheriff's office, we believe in the integrity of the judicial process and are committed to ensuring that anyone found guilty of criminal conduct, whether a member of staff or the public, is held accountable. Jew has been placed on administrative leave by Sheriff Miyamoto. The sheriff's office said its criminal investigation unit is investigating the case and has presented it to the district attorney's office. The agency's internal affairs is also conducting an investigation. Jew is a founder and past president of the San Francisco Asian Peace Officers Association. He also serves as the vice president of the San Francisco Unified Lions Club, of the, I believe this is the Maki Street Fair Board of Directors. So yeah, not a good move. Probably should have just gave it up right there and said, you know what? You got me.
Yeah, busted. Sorry.
Yep, sorry, I made the mistake. All right, this next story, Jess, has to do with a common fear among most of our audience, and probably is our worst nightmare in the workplace.
Oh, what is it?
And it led to a lawsuit. A Rocky Mount woman is suing her former employee, citing a Chucky doll incident and disability discrimination.
What?
Can you imagine just showing up to work? You're at the workplace there and you have a terrifying fear of Chucky dolls. And there you go. There's one for you.
No, that's terrible.
Let's get into it. We'll find out exactly what happened. A Rocky Mount woman filed a lawsuit against her former employer, Truist Bank, of all places to find a Chucky doll, claiming they harassed her with a doll from a horror movie and discriminated against abilities. According to court documents, the woman sued Truist Bank in May, claiming she had been harassed with a Chucky doll made famous by the 1988 horror movie Child's Play in the movie. In the movie, the doll is possessed by a dying murderer and goes on a killing spree. So, yeah, it's perfect for a bank. The lawsuit claimed that during the woman's last week of training at Truist Bank in June of 2024, her manager deliberately placed the doll on her chair. Just kind of a welcome to the company.
Well, that's not so bad.
Here's a little harassment for you to see if you fit in with us here at the bank. This is your.
I mean, I would just laugh, but
this is your coworker Chucky. He'll be helping you here in accounting. The woman stated the manager was aware of her fear of dolls, which she shared during a team cookout at his home, and how the fear negatively affected her disabilities, which included generalized anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, and the autoimmune disorder vitiligo.
No way. A doll
Yeah.
causes her to have all of those issues. That poor person.
Well, and guess what? It flared up again. The lawsuit also claimed the manager laughed after seeing the woman's reaction. He's got a little bit of a sadist in him.
Yeah.
The woman said she was treated by her medical provider on the same day the Chucky doll incident, and was placed on a medical leave for 8 weeks to treat her disabilities. She was gone 8 weeks.
Stop it. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Chucky sitting in her chair.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild. That makes me feel bad. Did I ever tell you about the time when we were at the Palmer house? And I'm sure you remember this. Once upon a time, they had a clown head that was like just floating around, and there might have been a few shots of whiskey involved one night after we were hanging out, and I stuck it in the fridge so that when chef came in the next morning, they opened the fridge and there was a clown head. She said she about crapped her pants. But now I'm listening to this and I'm like, what if she would have had it gone on like 8 weeks of vacation? I'm like, got in therapy all because I made a joke.
See, you never know what's going to happen when you do that kind of stuff.
Wow. I probably couldn't work with that lady though.
Well, there's more. She also said she has newly diagnosed post-traumatic stress disorder after the Chucky doll incident. Yeah.
Wow. I really feel bad for her if she's that tightly wound. That's so sad.
As you put it, she's a little tightly wound. According to the lawsuit, the woman was cleared to return to work in August of 2024 with an approved reasonable accommodation to leave work at 3 p.m. 3 times per week for treatment of her autoimmune disorder. The lawsuit states the treatments were for flare-ups that started as a result of the Chucky doll incident. You got a Chucky doll around by chance? I need to leave early today.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, from this show, I need to leave early today. So if you happen to
You're just gonna leave me here by myself.
yeah, I'm just going to turn the iPad around and then I'm going to leave. So if you have a Chucky doll, appreciate it. The woman said upon returning to work, she was given a new manager and office.
Nice.
You got to love it. Yeah.
That's a good way to get a nice office.
I needed a new studio. Do we have a Chucky doll around here anyway? Sure is. The woman said she was treated differently than her coworkers when she made mistakes and believed it was due to her disabilities, according to the lawsuit. She also alleged in the lawsuit that her supervisors discriminated against and retaliated against her, including saying her accommodation to leave at 3 p.m. was affecting her coworkers because they also needed time off. Well, maybe Chucky affected them as well. Never know. In January of 2025, the woman said she met with a supervisor who told her that she did not think that this job was a right fit for her and that she cannot keep using her anxiety and emotional problems as an excuse, according to the lawsuit. The woman said she was notified that she would be terminated within a month if she did not improve. Following the meeting, the woman said she suffered several panic attacks. It's probably the wrong thing to tell somebody with anxiety that I don't think you have an issue and you better improve in a month or you're gone. That might build
You better get your anxiety under control right now.
or else, right? That may cause some anxiety. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not the best move. Following the meeting, the woman said she suffered several panic attacks. She met with her medical provider and was taken out of work for treatment of her disabilities, according to the lawsuit. The woman said she was let go from the company in March, so they still followed through. They were like,
Yeah, that's rough.
well, you gotta go, then you gotta go, right?
Yeah.
The woman is suing Truist Bank for infliction of emotional distress, discrimination, and violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and retaliation in violation of the Civil Rights Act. She is seeking back pay, legal fees, and damages for the humiliation, embarrassment, and emotional distress and mental anguish that she suffered. She is seeking a jury trial. WRAL News has reached out to Truist Bank and the woman's lawyer for comment on the lawsuit and has not received it as of yet. So, what do you think, Jess? Does she win?
Oh, I mean, should she win? Will she win? Those might be two different questions.
Will she win? I didn't say
I
should
think
she win.
she could. I think she legitimately could.
I think she does.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a pet rock, but if it's something she feels threatened by and you threaten her with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a step too far. If you know, like, she has a fear, and of course the guy was just trying to be funny, but in a workplace, you have to be more respectful than that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think she wins.
I think she will. Yeah. I
It'll,
want to know.
it'll be a cash settlement. She won't go back, but it'll be a cash settlement.
Yeah, she wouldn't want to go back. Why would you want to go back?
No.
Sounds a little toxic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's
I
for
mean,
sure.
I'd probably have fun there because I love Chucky dolls, but that's just
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I'd have him sit on my lap, do my chore. I'd put my hand on his back, make him talk. I mean,
Yeah. I'd be like, Chucky's giving me a lap dance. Woohoo!
yeah, have a little fun with him. But when you've got PTSD because of Chucky, it's not going to happen. So
It's wild.
yeah. Okay, now we've all somewhere in our history had some relationship issues at one time or another. Maybe we've had someone who's a little too clingy, right?
Yes.
This next story takes the clingy cake. It's probably a nightmare come true for this Texas man who found out he was married without his knowledge, and his ex-girlfriend was arrested.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, it'll happen, Jess. Sometimes you're not looking. You think you're done with the relationship. You say sorry, but thanks, but no thanks, and we should probably go our separate ways. And she files for a marriage license, and before you know it, you're married.
Don't you have to like sign that? Like both of you have to sign that? How do you trick him into doing that?
Well, you just get a different guy. You show up, he signs it with your name, and away you go.
It's a forgery.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We go to Beverly Hills, Texas. White gold Texas tea. I think is how the TV show used to say it. A 36-year-old Texas woman is being held on felony stalking charges in a bizarre case where a wedding was allegedly held without the groom's consent or presence. Kristen Marie Spearman was arrested and booked into the McLennan County Jail. Beverly Hills Police Chief, and it's not the Beverly Hills Police Chief from Beverly Hills Cop, but a different one. I just want to clarify here. Corey Martin said his office was contacted by a 42-year-old man on Friday who said he found a package from his ex-girlfriend at his home that included a copy of a marriage certificate showing that he was married. I'm sure he was shocked. The victim told police he had been in a relationship with the suspect and they had gotten a marriage license around June 2nd, but had broken up before the wedding took place. Oh, that's how she did it.
Okay.
Okay. Chief Martin said the investigation determined that the woman had convinced a pastor to certify the marriage without the groom being present. Chief Martin said she then went down to the county clerk's office and filed the certificate.
Why would she do that?
Well, she wanted to get him pinned down, I guess.
Wow.
Chief Martin said that with the assistance of the Hewitt Police Department, the suspect was located at her residence near Hewitt. Police obtained an arrest warrant for third-degree felony stalking and took Spearman into custody. She was booked into the McLennan County Jail. Chief Martin said his department was not releasing any information on who officiated the ceremony as of Monday as they move forward with the case. No word as of yet as to whether any bananas were found in any tailpipes. And that, my friend, is a Beverly Hills Cop joke.
Well played.
I try. It's an old Beverly Hills Cop joke because you got to go back to the first one. Not the
Yes.
most one, yeah.
The original was the best.
That's right.
You know, I love that marriage story because I tricked my husband into marrying me 25 years ago today.
Oh, it's how did you do that? By the way,
Yeah.
happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I just forged a marriage license. He didn't know we were married for the first 20 years. And
Oh,
when I showed him all these kids, I'm like, these are yours.
he slept through all that sex. It was just, is that what happened?
Yeah, pretty much.
He's a narco fucker. Is that what he is? What do you?
Hey, now we're not safe for work yet.
Oh, that's true. Okay, well, you forced my hand on that deal. I mean, you can't just, he slept through all those kids and then you that's a no. Yeah, that's, how do I put
I invited
this?
that. I'm sorry. It's my fault.
That's an opening I have to take. See, there's more jokes here that you're forcing on me that I can't,
You can't be stopped now that it started.
That's right. Once you open the floodgates, you can't put the water back in the genie. I don't know what that means.
Something like that.
Something like that. We'll move on to the next story. We're almost at not safe for work anyways. I just came up with a great album name, by the way. Narco fucker. By the way, I saw an interesting dumb crime, stupid criminal story that I left off the cast today. Did you know that Walmart and Target are now charging $2,500 fines if they catch you with a stolen grocery cart?
Wow, that's an expensive cart.
But you know why? Because it costs $175 million a year for both grocery chains or both chains in lost carts, grocery carts a year.
Oh, it's crazy.
They spend $175 million in lost grocery carts between the two chains.
Oh man, the next time I see someone walking around with one, I'm gonna take it back. They're making our prices more expensive.
But can you imagine that? If you're found with a grocery cart from either Target or Walmart, they'll hit you with a $2,500 fine.
That's crazy.
When you think of it, Walmarts aren't worth it because there's always a wheel that's wiggling weird.
I always get the bad one.
Right.
Maybe they're all bad.
But Targets are like the Mercedes-Benz of carts. They're so
nice.
Oh my God.
They got the cup holder. They got the phone holder.
Yeah.
They have a nice place for your kids to hang out. If you get the big one, they can sit in that and go for a ride.
I'd take the chance for $2,500 for a Target one.
Yeah.
I might take one of those.
Just drive around the neighborhood.
Yeah. I know I'd take their scooters. I might take one of those from They're pretty nice. They have the Amigas. They're pretty good.
The Target ones are nicer than the Walmart ones.
Well, they're slightly better. I mean, they're about the same.
Yeah.
Walmart uses the Amigas too, but they have the older, crappier ones, and they have one or two Amigas per store so that the disabled people can fight over them. They like to see disabled people wars to fight over the scooters. But Target mainly have the Amigas now, and they're nice.
They're nice. Smooth ride, huh?
Yeah, smooth ride. So I think they do this to us on purpose. They like to offer us the nice stuff to see if we'll steal it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're tempting you.
Yep. It's Hunger Games for amenities. I'm telling you. It's what they're doing to us, Jess. It's what they're doing to us. All right. On to the next story. I just had to throw that note in there because I saw the story today. I couldn't believe it. $2,500.
Wild.
I'd catch you with a cart. If you're stealing stuff from their stores. Their next story has to do with a real life Goldilocks. And this is a story from one of our listeners. By the way, if you have a story for us, tim@darknessradio.com. Send in the story and we will air it right here on the show. A real life Goldilocks. Florida man broke into a stranger's home to make dinner and have a bath because he was avoiding his angry wife. Simply, that's the only reason. So he just decided, I'm going to go have dinner and a bath elsewhere. Not my home. Your home.
It's one way to do it.
That is a way to do it. A Florida man has been arrested for allegedly breaking into a stranger's house and staying for days to avoid his angry wife. Not just a one-time affair, just staying for days. The Polk County Sheriff's Office was called on June 9th about reports of lights unexpectedly being on inside a rental property in Davenport. When deputies arrived around 10 p.m., the officers found Jocelyn Charles inside, with the 44-year-old allegedly admitting to breaking into the property days ago. Deputies went into the residence and found Joe inside, cooking, and he had just finished filling the tub for a bath. That sounds so wonderful.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did he make enough dinner for everyone, though? Because if he's going to come in and break in my house and cook me dinner, I'm down.
Well, set the table for everyone, make a nice bath.
I would probably even light some candles for him when he took his bath if he made me dinner.
Sure. Why not? Right? I'd finish off the dinner for him. Yeah. Maybe put on something nice on the TV for him. Sure.
Yeah.
The sheriff's office wrote in a bizarre June 15th Facebook post announcing the arrest, replete with Goldilocks jokes and bear puns, if you're ready for this, Jess, as well as the hashtag, if Joe is convicted, he will spend time behind the guilty locks and the 3 bars. That was the hashtag. And an image of the man being arrested who appears unrelated to the actual suspect. So they did all that in the post. The post also added, we assume the bath temperature was not too hot, not too cold, but just right. Oh, they had fun with this. Police said that upon entering the residence, they saw the stove was in use, lights were on, and a cell phone was also plugged in a wall outlet, according to an arrest affidavit obtained by the Independent. Jocelyn was advised that, I suppose it's Jocelyn, was advised that he had been inside of the residence for approximately 4 days, utilizing water and electricity without the authorization of the homeowner. The affidavit reads, the sheriff's office in the Facebook post provided additional information about the unusual circumstances of the alleged break-in. Joe told deputies that he had gotten in a fight with his wife and he didn't want to go home. So he chose to burgle someone else's home instead, the sheriff's department added. It's one of those things where you just have to grin and bear it. See if they did there, you have to grin and bear it because it's a Goldilocks joke. The 44-year-old has been charged with unarmed burglary and petty theft. He has no prior arrests, according to the affidavit. Charles remains in custody and has a $10,000 bond on the burglary charge and a $250 bond on the petty theft charge, according to police. A 2022 ACLU report identified the Polk County Sheriff's Office as having a record of civil rights violations and racial profiling. Leaders making anti-immigration statements and inhumane conditions in jails. So not only are they mean to you on their Facebook by making posts about you, They're also not so nice as far as arrests go.
Well, that's not good.
That's an interesting note at the end of that story. It kind of takes the fun out of the end of that
I
story, doesn't
mean,
it?
what does it have to do with that guy? Like,
I don't know. Maybe they beat the snot out of him in a jail cell after he got in there. They're like, "Did you
did
enjoy
you
your?"
really have to deflate my funny balloon at the end there? Like, I was loving that story, and then
You're like,
wah, wah.
"Oh, you're like, oh, that's cute, that's funny, that's cute, that's funny." Then they beat the snot out of him with a rubber hose and a phone book, and you're like, "Oh,
I'm like, what?
they did what to him?" And they call them several racial slurs. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. All right, Jess. Some people have a little bit of OCD. Some people get fixated on something and they just do it over and over and over and over again. Well, one Florida man happened to get on the old phone and dialed 911 16,000 times. Not just once, not just twice, not just 10 or 15 times, but 16,000 times.
Dang, that's got to be a record.
It does, and it's probably pissed off a few 911 operators as well. Probably the same one about 10,000 times. This is my guess.
Yeah.
During the first 5 months of this year, a 72-year-old Florida man has placed 3,400 calls to 911, pushing his 5-year total to 16,000 calls to the police emergency line, according to investigators who have arrested the recurring caller for allegedly stalking a neighbor. Police last week responded to a 911 call claiming that someone was shooting an AR-15 rifle in the roadway outside a St. Petersburg residence. That's a direct quote. When officers arrived at the home, they discovered a family barbecue with small children at play. My guess
Oh
is none of the
my.
children had an AR-15.
So he's stalking a neighbor and harassing the 911 office with all these phone calls.
Yes. Yeah. With regard to the reported gunplay, numerous neighbors advised that such an event did not occur, according to the police report. The complainant is this man. Jess, here he is right here. He does look like your crotchety old neighbor who probably does call 911 a few thousand times a year.
That look on his face, it's like he just ate a lemon.
It does. Allow me to introduce you to Samuel Lee Thomas, who lives across the street from where the shooting purportedly happened. By the way, between you and me, it never happened. Police communications records showed that Thomas this year dialed police 647 times to make complaints about the neighboring home. He has made allegations about narcotic sales, firearms usage, disorderly conduct, and suspicious activity. 34-year-old Anquinette Peterson, who lives at the targeted property, told cops that the 911 calls had resulted in hundreds of interactions with the police and that Thomas frequently stops in front of her residence to yell obscenities at her and her family, which is a great neighborly how do you do. Just, howdy, neighbor. F you and your kids, and I know you got an AR-15 and some drugs in there. I'm guessing that's kind of how that goes.
This story is really making me appreciate my neighbors.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have pleasant interactions with my neighbors, and I teach the kids how to train chipmunks.
Exactly.
I'm the weird old neighbor. Just saying. But not
Eccentric. I think that's what that's called.
Yes, I'm sorry, eccentric. Thank you, Jess. Peterson said she wanted to press charges against Thomas because she was fearful that the constant police calls could escalate into a potential dangerous situation, adding that her family had already suffered severe emotional distress. Thomas's telephonic proclivities. By the way, that's a great song or album name too, Telephonic Proclivities. Just try it once, put it on a song, see how it sounds.
I like it.
Extended beyond Peterson's household. According to a criminal complaint, Thomas has made approximately 3,400 calls to the police this year and 16,000 calls within the last 5 years. The complaint does not detail the nature or target of those additional 911 calls, but indicates that with regard to Thomas, there was no indication of mental health issues or drug or alcohol influence. So he was sober when he did it.
That's even worse.
Yeah, that's a guy who just has too much free time on his hands. Free on $1,500 bond. That's right. Call the cops as much as you want, kids. It's not that expensive. It's less than long distance charges.
True.
Yeah. And collect calls. Thomas has pleaded not guilty to the 3 misdemeanor charges. There's a shock. Thomas's rap sheet includes multiple battery convictions, as well as convictions for DUI, pot possessions, disorderly intoxication, passing bad checks, violating probation, and failure to return rented merchandise. That's right. He was not kind and did not rewind. He has not previously been busted for misusing the 911 system. In a brief phone conversation with the Smoking Gun, Thomas said, "I don't know nothing about stalking," adding that his calls to police were about neighborhood nuisances. Thomas, who said he was ex-military, if he's ex-military, I'm an ex-balloon pilot, promised to call a reporter back tomorrow. And if they're still waiting on that phone call, then they're not sitting at the 911 station, because he would have called him back right away.
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
That's wild.
That's the story there. All right, I think we got one more before we get to... Oh, no. Yes, we have one more before we get to our not safe for work category here. Because, boy, do we have a not safe for work category today. I'm telling you. Our next one's an unusual story, Jess. It's typical Florida. In Florida, they do unusual things. They drink weird substances. They smoke weird substances. They commit weird crimes, and they give you unusual nicknames based on your shortcomings.
Okay.
One Florida gator found out such a thing this past week. As a Gatorland, the actual attraction Gatorland, rescued an injured alligator and then turned around and named him after his wounds.
Oh.
They gave him a nickname based on his shortcomings.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
That's unusually cruel and unusually unusual. But hey, they thought it was funny. Let's tell you about it, shall we? We go to Orange County, Florida, where an alligator with a bungee cord embedded in its jaw is recovering at Gatorland after what rescuers believe was an illegal and failed capture attempt. The gator, now named Bungee.
Oh,
Really?
ouch.
Like the gator couldn't help it, but they decided to name him Bungee anyways. Earned his name in a painful way. Rescuers said it appeared someone had wrapped a bungee cord around his mouth. By the time he was found in Gainesville's Paynes Prairie, the cord had sliced into his upper jaw and left a visible mark. So he's got a handicap, Jess. You've got a gator with a handicap, and you go, "Hey, let's call him Bungee." There's Florida for you. It looks like someone made a loop, probably tried to capture him illegally, and the cord broke off around his jaw. Brandon Fisher, Gatorland employee, said, "We don't know how long it had been there." It took about an hour for Gatorland's captain, Ron Sanderson, one of the park's most experienced gator trappers, to capture Bungee and remove him safely. The alligator was then examined by Gatorland veterinarian Dr. Bogan, and is now receiving care. He's perfectly healthy, perfectly fine, Fisher said. Our vet, Dr. Bogan, gave him the all clear. I somehow see Dr. Bogan with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, working on a bungee cord, going, "I got a nickname for this sumbitch." He then gave him the all clear, and we decided to release him in our 10-acre marsh, where he can live out the rest of his days in alligator paradise. I think that's pretty subjective there. I'm pretty shocked that they call it paradise, but we'll see. Gator experts believe Bungee will adjust, find his place, and settle comfortably into his new home. Meanwhile, he has a nickname that will shame him for all time.
Poor guy.
He's called Bungee.
They could have given him a sophisticated name like Frederick or Charles.
Yeah, right? But no, his name is Bungee. Your name's Bungee. You look funny. Your name's Bungee. We're going to call you Bungee. You know what? I'm going to name you after the former football coach in Tampa. Your name's going to be Tony Bungee. Ha ha! See what I did? Your name's Tony Bungee.
Okay, that would have been cute.
That would have been a little cute, wouldn't it? I guess, so to speak. All right. It's that time, kids. Well, actually, it's time to put the kids away. Maybe set them up with Tony Bungee. They could have a play date. Or it's time also to put your boss away. Put him in with the Chucky doll in the office. Let him play around for a little bit. It's time now for Not Safe for Work. You don't want either one of those kids to be listening to what we're about to talk about next, whether it be a narco fucker or whatever we're talking about. We're about to get into it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Jess, you thought last week's naked bike ride was something. Let's tell you about something else they're doing over in Britain. Let's talk about a half-naked 100-strong beach brawl.
Whoa.
That's how we're kicking it off today. Evidently, we handle the heat much better here in America than they do in Britain.
Yeah. And a naked brawl on the beach. Sand everywhere.
I know, right? I mean,
Ugh.
talk about pounding the sand out of somebody. I mean, that's what they were doing. And it only got to 30 there, Celsius, but it only got to 30. I mean, here it was, 90, 100 degrees. There it's only 30.
Yeah, the feel like was 108 this weekend, Tim.
Yeah, I know. It was horrible.
Ugh.
Yeah. I was in air conditioning all weekend. I barely went outside. Just enough to go to a baby shower and then a graduation party and then back here.
Back inside, yeah.
That's right. Grim scenes from the UK sizzling weekend have emerged with one massive 100-strong brawl recorded on Broadstairs Beach in Kent on Saturday while temperatures exceeded 30 degrees Celsius. I'm sorry, I'm an American. I don't know how to convert that. I just don't. An ugly brawl broke out on a UK beach as part of a widespread disturbance across the country as they basked in a ludicrously hot weekend everywhere, not just here in the U.S., but also over in England. In grim footage, two men could be seen trading blows on a beach in Broadstairs, Kent, while a group of at least 100 youths cheer them on. Stunned bystanders in their swimwear watched on as the melee moved around the beach with one woman picking up a child to try and escape the chaos. Over heat. They fought over heat. Some youths could be... What's that?
I was going to say, I actually translated 30 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. It's only 86 degrees.
That's it?
Come on.
They were fighting over 86 degrees?
Yes.
Was there any
That's
humidity?
unacceptable.
Oh my God, that's horrible. I mean, at 86, we're barely getting going.
Yeah, it's like beautiful. We're like loving it.
Yeah.
86? Come on.
At 86, Belinda Jensen is still trying to convince us it was chilly out today. I mean, she's the biggest liar in the Twin Cities as far as weather goes. But yeah, some youths could be seen on top of a beach hut to avoid the hideous clash. One witness filmed the event saying, "Look at the state of them in the fight. Several of the blows between the young men connect, leaving one of the attackers unsteady on their feet." But they fight like this. So it's, it's the old-fashioned
put them up.
Like the Notre Dame leprechaun. That deal. So it takes them a while to fight. It was a part of widespread antisocial disturbances in Broadstairs on Saturday, June 21st, as temperatures on the beach soared to 30 degrees Celsius, they translate here, or 86 degrees Fahrenheit, which is nothing.
It really is not. It's just a normal summer day.
It's barely getting warm. Oh my God.
Wow.
Boy, what would they do if it got to what it was here?
And look at us nice Midwest folks. We're just like staying inside, minding our business.
Yeah, we're gonna get in the air conditioning. Yeah, we're gonna sweat this out. A Kent police spokesperson said, "We were called into a report that a disturbance related to approximately 50 individuals is taking place on Broadstairs Beach shortly before 3 p.m. on Saturday, the 21st of June. Officers attended, and after completing inquiries, a 17-year-old boy was arrested and taken into custody." So it all started with a 17-year-old. Later that day, the teenager was charged with assaulting a police officer and was bailed on conditions to attend Maidstone Youth Court at a later date. A dispersal order remains in place following concerns of antisocial behavior involving a small minority of young people in some public areas, including the town center and beaches. Local officers will be on patrol to provide a visible presence and to ensure the area remains a safe place for all. Temperatures inch closer to 34 degrees on Saturday in the UK, Jess.
Ooh.
So it got to all of maybe 90.
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to calculate. 93.2, Tim.
93.2.
That's warm, but not lose your shit warm.
Yeah, it's not exactly. It's not lose your shit warm.
Ah,
I mean, we were flirting with 100 here.
yeah.
Well,
And we held it together.
yeah. You didn't see 100 people punching each other out down at Lake Harriet. You didn't see people toppling the bandshell over there. Keep your shit together there, England.
Crazy.
Yeah. There's nobody down at the old Lake Minnetonka or whatever they call it now. Metawaska, whatever it is. I can never remember.
I can't say it.
But you don't see them over there, over.
No, you just
Yeah.
see a bunch of people waving and saying, "Hey, how are
Yeah.
ya?"
Yeah. Boy, hot enough there for you? That's all you hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm going to be
Oh, how about this weather?
like Apollonia and go baptize myself in the waters of Lake, whatever this is now. Yeah, that's what they say.
Day McCasey or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I close?
Pretty much, I think. Yeah. None of us know. We walk around going, what's the name of this lake back here? You know what it is?
Change is hard for my brain. That's what it is.
Can't find a sign. What's the name of this thing now? That's what we all do. Yeah. But yeah, there's nobody knows.
Nobody's fighting.
Nobody's fighting. Most of us are walking around with a cold beer anyways. We got a cold Summit in our hand. We got an extra one. We'll hand it to somebody.
Exactly. I'm just going to say we'll share.
Yeah. Get a grip, England. Get a grip. Plus, if you're half naked, you can stand around and look at each other. I mean, get a grip. Anywho, we had a couple of airline stories. The reason we're doing these and not safe for work, they're a little out there.
We're going to get bad.
Might have to clutch your pearls here. Saying,
Okay.
Get ready for some
I'm
pearl
ready.
clutch. You're ready. Clutch your pearls. Get ready here, Jess. First one. United Airlines is sued for kicking the wrong Asian woman off of a flight.
Oh, no.
It's United. I'm not shocked.
Oh, come on.
They are the white trash of airlines.
That's so bad.
They just are. I myself have had to file a claim against them and argue with management for 6 months. United's the white trash of airlines. They're horrible. But United is facing yet another discrimination suit as an Asian woman claims she was kicked off a United flight simply because she was mistaken for another Asian passenger seated several rows away from her, who was also a realtor. So this was a realtor convention. So the joke is, can United tell the difference between two Asian women realtors seated several rows away from each other?
Apparently not.
No. The incident happened on August 29th of 2024 on United flight UA 1627, which is scheduled to operate from Las Vegas to Washington Dulles. The flight departed at 9 a.m. local time and was supposed to make the 2,065-mile journey to Dulles Airport. There were several realtors aboard who were returning from a conference in Las Vegas. At least two of those realtors were Asian women. Should be easy to separate them. They knew one another and worked together. However, they weren't seated together. They were 7 rows apart. So for all practical purposes, they were separate parties on this flight. This is an important detail, and it will come up in a bit. Due to bad weather, the flight had to divert to Baltimore. This was a super unpleasant situation for everybody, as passengers ended up being stuck on the aircraft on the ground in Baltimore for roughly 5 hours due to the lack of available gates. Typically, the tarmac rule requires airlines to give passengers the option of deplaning within 3 hours, but the number of diversions meant that simply wasn't possible. As you'd expect, passengers become restless. One of the female Asian realtor's colleagues started feeling unwell and was sweating profusely and suffering pain in the... This could have been a medical emergency, right?
Right.
Okay. The passengers claimed that the flight attendant was quite dismissive about the medical condition, typical United, and wrote off the symptoms as a panic attack. Incorrect diagnosis, right?
Okay, well, you're not a doctor. You can't diagnose anything.
That's right. So one of the Asian realtors confronted the flight attendant over her rudeness and received a snarky response from the flight attendant. Eventually, passengers were able to deplane before once again being allowed to board the aircraft again around midnight. As a second Asian realtor attempted to board, who had nothing to do with the above situation, she was told that she wouldn't be allowed to fly due to accusations made by a flight attendant.
Whoa.
Because the initial Asian realtor stuck up for her colleague who was having a
Yeah,
medical emergency.
that's bananas.
And that's something. Putting two and two together, she concluded that she was being denied boarding over the earlier interaction between the first Asian realtor and the flight attendant. So the belief is that she was incorrectly identified based on her ethnicity, despite sitting far away and reportedly the entire delay reading her Kindle. That's right. She sat in a corner and was
Aw.
docile for all that
She's
time.
just being a good girl, and here she gets drug into something for no reason whatsoever.
That's right. Eventually, her coworkers stood up in support of her at the gate, causing all four of them to ultimately be denied boarding. So all of them were told they couldn't fly before being escorted out of the airport by police. The flight attendant reportedly claimed that one of the passengers had physically pushed her, an accusation that all passengers denied. So they lied on top of it.
Wow, United, you are bad.
They're horrible. They're horseshit. I'm telling you. They are liars. They're huge liars. The two realtors have provided witnesses, including an off-duty United employee who reportedly thing that happened. One of the only United employees I've ever known who's come forward to tell the truth. There are different versions of events as to whether a passenger pushed the flight attendant during a confrontation. Regardless, it sounds like any of those accusations would involve the first Asian realtor, not the second one, given that one was reportedly just reading her Kindle throughout the delay. Wow. And this is why I hate United.
Lots to unpack there. Yep.
Our second one, Jess, I had to read because we were talking, was it last week, about just a little bit of pee-pee in the airport getting on your leg and
Yes.
hoping it was sterile.
It is sterile. Urine is sterile, Tim.
Are you ready for this one?
Yes.
This one was sent in by Tony, I believe. Tony, I think, wants to shake your world, so to speak, and test that theory of, is it really sterile, Jess? And what if this happened to you? A passenger's bag was subjected to this disgusting act in mid-flight, and the airline says it's not their problem. Now we're talking about Frontier Airlines. A Frontier Airlines passenger was horrified to discover her under-the-seat carry-on bag was soaked with urine following a recent...
Ew.
Yeah. Still want to say it's...
I mean, I would still be saying it's sterile. I would just say it over and over and over again, like I did when it was all over my leg.
And they were shocked when airline staffers waved off her complaints. Just a flesh wound.
What?
Mm-hmm. The soggy saga unfolded on a Seattle to Dallas sojourn in early June and went public after family members shared the trickle-down theory in a popular Reddit post asking experienced travelers how to get the budget carrier to shoulder the bladder burden.
Someone is very witty with their writing.
They are. They're quite proud of themselves. The passenger's sister explained that during the flight, the backpack that they stored under the seat in front of them, and when she went to grab it, when the flight was over, she realized that it was soaked. She assumed maybe water or soda, but when she tried to dry it off in the airplane bathroom, the paper towels came out yellow.
Ew.
She's 99% sure the person sitting in the seat in front of her peed during the flight and it leaked onto her backpack. Right after deplaning, the passenger went right to the gate to try to report it, but the staff there basically brushed her off and told her to go to the ticket counter. When she did that, they sent her to the supervisor. She literally is carrying around a pea-soaked paper towel as evidence while getting bounced around the airport to try and find someone who will take her seriously, the Reddit user wrote. A manager admitted that they had to call the general manager since they didn't know how to handle the situation because nothing like this has ever happened before. Why does the manager have to handle this? They eventually told her that Frontier couldn't do anything about the situation and she would have to settle it with the passenger. What's the passenger going to do? Unpiss himself?
Oh my gosh, that's so terrible.
The poster found this evidence to be ridiculous. Who in their right mind is going to confront someone, but also confront someone about an unknown bodily fluid? She questioned. This whole thing just feels so gross and wrong. A bodily fluid soaks her personal belongings, and she's being told she's on her own. One user who claimed to be a Frontier flight attendant commented on the post, claimed that Frontier doesn't care about the cleanliness of our planes.
Ew.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Frontier doesn't consider anything a biohazard unless it visibly contains blood, even if there is a reasonable amount, or I'm sorry, even if there's a reasonable possibility of it containing blood, such as urine, feces, or vomit. So it has to have,
Ew. I never thought about urine containing blood, but it totally can.
yes. Yeah.
Ugh.
We also don't have cleaners. FAs pick up trash from the seat back pockets, and GAs are supposed to do everything else. Most times, if there is stuff on the seats, we can't get them to do anything. The times they've had to clean them due to something extreme like vomit, all they've done is lightly wipe up the seat with some paper towels and maybe some basic cleaning spray.
No, I am never flying Frontier ever again. Ew.
So a lot of times in Frontier, you may be sitting in someone's vomit.
Ew.
The New York Post has contacted the airline for comment. Meanwhile, Frontier's contract of carriage states that the airline is not responsible for incidents like the one described. Frontier is not liable for loss or damage to carry-on baggage unless such damage is caused by Frontier or its agent's negligence, which does not include the damage resulting from turbulence, shifting of items during flight, which what would be your cock? I mean, what's I don't get that. Ordinary handling, including placing the baggage in overhead compartments or under seats. So in other words, if someone pisses on your bag, tough luck, Charlie.
I'm gonna get a waterproof bag.
I guess, right?
Bring myself a little tarp to put over it when I fly.
Ugh. Meanwhile, we go from bags under your seat on Frontier to what's being hidden in your prison purse. Now we're getting down to it.
What could it be?
What could it be? Well, here's the headline. She forgot. Florida woman allegedly hid several syringes and a bag of fentanyl inside her person.
Oops. Inside her person.
That's what I mean by prison purse. Are you ready for this?
Oh, I was like, I didn't know they let you have purses in prison. Now I get it.
I was using slang. You're thinking she literally brought a purse to prison?
No, that's her bunghole. I get it now.
Oh, no. It's something even more fun than that.
It's another hole?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, girl.
A Florida woman was recently arrested after several syringes and fentanyl were found inside her person, Sunshine State Police say. Hello, Sunshine. 34-year-old Jessica Reno stands accused of myriad crimes, including smuggling a controlled substance and possession of fentanyl, according to Flagler County Sheriff's Office records. The underlying incident, however, was not drug-related at all. In fact, far from it. On June 15th, Reno was pulled over for a mismatched license plate, allegedly assigned to a Ford car but affixed to a defendant's Chevrolet pickup truck, and the driver's side seatbelt banged the door, according to the charging affidavit filed in the case. A deputy wrote that such a seatbelt is inconsistent with the driver not properly wearing their seatbelt, and traffic stop ensued, according to a court document. But the deputy says Reno seemed to be taking her time. Upon activating my emergency lights and sirens, the vehicle tapped on its brakes several times, but continued to proceed without stopping for approximately 30 seconds, despite having several safe lit areas to pull over. The affidavit reads, upon making contact with the driver, she stated that she was on the phone and was talking to her daughter, which is why she did not immediately pull over. Then inquired if the female was the registered owner of the vehicle, and she said yes. While attempting to get the operator's driver's license, she stated that she did not have a license and has an upcoming court date regarding her driver's license suspension. The traffic stop allegedly confirmed the license plate was on the wrong vehicle, that Reno was driving with a lapsed registration and without insurance, according to the sheriff's office. When asked about her seatbelt, the defendant allegedly apologized for being in a rush. After being Mirandized, Reno allegedly admitted she was aware of her suspended license and she had an upcoming court date after previously being caught driving. She also said she had used her friend's license plate after her own license plate blew off the truck approximately 6 days prior to the traffic stop, according to the affidavit. Then the drug component of the case. Upon placing Jessica under arrest for the above noted criminal charges, a female deputy was requested to perform a search incident to arrest. The affidavit reads, during that time, it was explained to Jessica that if she had any other contraband on or inside her person, she would face additional criminal charges if it was located at the inmate facility. Jessica stated that she did not. So then Reno was booked into the local jail. That's allegedly when and where the drugs were found. The booking deputies discovered a black sock tucked into the area of Jessica's vaginal cavity. The affidavit goes on. Within the black sock, deputies located 6 capped syringes and a bag of white powdery substance. While inquiring about the substance, Jessica stated that the substance was fentanyl.
Ooh.
I think we've talked about this before. Fentanyl going off in that area.
Yeah, it's just a bad idea. What if there's like a little tear in the baggie and it's just going directly into your vaginal lining? That can't be good.
I mean, boom, you're dead, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, really
It's
not
pretty much
worth the risk.
quick absorption, right? The affidavit explains at length. They tested presumptive positive the substance is fentanyl by utilizing the agency-issued mobile detect fentanyl field test kit and mobile detect multi-drug test. The substance weighed about 3 grams total package weight, 2 grams unpackaged weight. He then conducted a follow-up interview with Jessica after she was booked into the inmate facility. Jessica initially stated that she forgot the items were on her person. How do you put that much up there and not know it's there? Come on.
God, I had a sock full of drugs in my crotch.
Yeah, I'm just used to feeling that much up there. Yeah. However, she later stated that she was afraid to say anything because she did not want to get sick. Huh? At this time, Jessica admitted that the substance was fentanyl and that she had purchased it today. So it was the same day purchase, but I just kind of forgot I had it there.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Wow. I wonder if that's why she was slowing down so slow, like she was getting it in there. But she must not have got it all the way if the sock was, I mean, if you're going to shove something up there, you better fully commit and make sure it's all the way. No one can see the tip of the black sock hanging out.
Right.
Otherwise, I got to assume they don't check that thoroughly. There has to be some reason for them to be
well, I think because of the suspicious behavior, the cops we're going to do a thorough search.
Oh, I would not want to be a cop doing a cavity check. That just seems so disgusting.
Well, and they do it when they book in jail anyways. In felony cases, they do.
Okay, so just not all, I'm never going to get convicted of a felony or arrested for one because I don't want to have my cavities searched.
With the guys, it's they grab under the nuts, turn and cough, and spread your cheeks, and then anything will fall out. With the gals, you get with guys, it's known as nuts and butts. With gals, it's both holes. So, yeah. I mean, I hate to put it so bluntly, but that's the thing. Okay. We salute your home state, Jess.
We're going to Iowa.
We're going to Iowa, where evidently They're treating the flag in a whole different way these days.
Oh no. What stupid thing have we done now?
Especially the youth there are treating the flag in a whole different way. A half-naked Iowa woman, all of 21 years old, was caught burning stolen American flags at 4:25 in the morning.
What? I wonder
Here's,
what she was on.
here's a picture of her right here. Clothed, by
Oh,
the way. There she is.
not half naked anymore.
No. And it was the bottom half, by the way. She was,
Oh,
yes. Now, here's the unusual name that may line up with the bottom half of her that was uncovered.
what?
Well, actually, it's the name of the city, not her. Her name is
Oh,
Brianna,
okay.
Brianna Laird. She's a 21-year-old Iowan who's behind bars after police say they found her naked from the waist down burning stolen American flags. Now, cops were dispatched around 4:25 a.m. Monday after getting a report about a nude female lighting American flags on fire. What town in Iowa do you think she was in where she's half naked from the waist down burning American flags?
Oh, I can't think of one in Iowa that sounds like anything that would be weird like that.
Like the female anatomy?
Is there a vagina, Iowa? Never been there.
Vagina, Iowa. Well, I think you pronounce it Bussy.
Oh,
But it's spelled Bussey.
I hate it when you make me laugh really hard. My laugh goes inward, so it just sounds like silence when you hear the recording.
But some people may look at it and go, Bussy, Iowa.
Bussy, Iowa.
Bussy, but it's Bussy, Iowa, a city about 60 miles from Des Moines. Maybe she misunderstood how the city is pronounced and thought in order to salute the flag, you had to get naked from the waist down.
Yeah, she's like, when in Bussy, you might as well not wear pants.
That's right. I love America. Now, Steve Rip. When officers located the suspect, she had an American flag tied around her head and was not wearing pants or underwear. That's
Wow.
really how
So
I
many
salute.
choices that she made there that I don't understand.
Right. Maybe she thought she was the new Wonder Woman. Who knows? I have no idea. I know I tend to salute the flag the same way. So I like to have my flagpole at full mast and have the flag around my head.
Oh my, Tim.
Yeah. After reportedly giving officers a false name, Laird allegedly resisted arrest and kicked 2 cops, not just one. You got to go for the double dare there. It was learned that the flags were taken and damaged. The flags that were taken and damaged belonged to the city of Bussy. She didn't use her own flags in this crime.
So she just ran around half naked stealing flags and then decided to set them on fire.
Yeah. Laird was found in possession of a bag containing drug paraphernalia. Surprise, surprise.
Shocking.
Yep. Laird, who lives in Knoxville, a city outside of Bussy, is locked up on $4,000 bond. They don't like flag burning, especially theirs in Bussy.
No way. And if I had to guess in Iowa, it's probably meth.
You think so?
Seems like we have a lot of that going on down there.
Yeah. She was arraigned on a host of charges, including arson, assault, indecent exposure, theft, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Additionally, a criminal complaint filed yesterday charged her with desecration of a flag. At the time of her arrest, Laird was on probation for a 2023 marijuana possession conviction. In 2022, she was convicted of driving under the influence. So there you go. All right. I think after that one, we definitely need a palate cleanser between shoving drugs up the hoo-ha and putting flags on top of your head and exposing the hoo-ha. I think we need to shake it off, if you will. We got 2 stories here, Jess. One, I don't think I call you very many nicknames on this show. But I know for one, if I were a lawyer and I were in court, I definitely would not call the judge that I was addressing a nickname.
Uh-oh.
Unlike the lawyer we're about to talk about today. Our theme for our palate cleansers today is stupid stuff we should never do. We're going to start with this lawyer who is in court, and And to be specific, he's in a Colorado appellate court doing an oral argument having to do with sex offenders. Okay.
Pretty serious. Yeah.
And he's representing, or he's defending, a sex offender. Here's the deal. This is literally a gift from the digital gods, folks. The Colorado appellate courts film oral arguments because that allows them to follow uncomfortably along with this installment of what we're calling Curb Your Enthusiasm SVU, while arguing whether or not a violent sexual assault counts as a single act or can be broken down into multiple acts to further ratchet up the sentence that they're talking about.
Okay.
Now, the prosecution's appellate lawyer addressed the judge, who is Elizabeth Harris, as, well, we're going to listen to this now, Jess, because this is too good to be true. You have to hear this as to what this judge says, actually, what this prosecutor says to this judge. So let me bring this back up here. It'll take me just a second because it is unbelievable what is said to this judge. And I'll play it for you here now.
Pursued it, but this could have been three separate.
Okay, but it wasn't three separate.
I know,
Let's go
but-
with what happened in the case.
But honey, or oh my God, I'm sorry, Your Honor. That I don't know what to say to that. I apologize.
Okay, go ahead.
The question here is what happened. I'm sorry, I've just been totally thrown by
I
my
can
mistake.
imagine. I can imagine. I'm a little thrown by that also, if I'm being honest.
Your Honor, I don't know what to say. It's just a
Okay, well, go ahead. You've only got 1 minute and 7 seconds left.
The question here wasn't pursued it, but
So yeah, he called the judge honey.
Honey?
Honey. Like he's either talking to his daughter. Let's hope he was thinking of his small daughter when he was talking to the judge, or condescendingly talking to his wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think you're going to lose that case?
Oh, it's not looking good.
No. And then the judge is like, yeah, you're an idiot. Yeah.
I'm a little thrown too.
I'm a little thrown too. Sure. All right. Our next one is an ironic story, and this is how we're going to end today. This is your palate cleanser. Kind of a shocking statistic, Jess. 4 reports of people being struck by lightning in about 24 hours this past week.
What? That's
Now,
crazy.
And only one of these is an innocent case. Right? The innocent case is a 15-year-old boy who survived being struck by lightning in Central Park in New York City on the afternoon of June 19th. Okay? Which can happen. I mean, kids can be out playing and they don't get in time and they get struck by lightning. We've heard of that. That's fine.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Following day, June 20th, 3 men experienced jolts in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, on the state's east central coast. A 29-year-old Colorado man standing in the ocean in ankle-deep water. You mean to tell me he didn't see the storm coming?
Come on, Mother Nature.
You got nothing.
Do your worst.
Baby. Do your worst. You're in ankle-deep water? Come on, you idiot.
Oh, that's dumb.
Wow. So he was critically injured by a lightning strike, according to Tammy Malfers, director of Volusia County Beach Safety Ocean Rescue. A bystander and lifeguards immediately started life-saving measures, but the victim was unresponsive when taken from the scene to the hospital. Well, you're standing in a huge conductor called the ocean.
Yeah. I hope he's okay. That's pretty stupid, though.
Later that afternoon, about 8 miles inland, 2 men on the Venetian Bay golf course were jolted when lightning struck nearby. Neither of them were taken to the hospital. My guess is they kept playing.
Yeah. Wow. They're just like holding up their lightning rods, aka their poles or golf clubs, I should say.
Yep. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep playing through. We got a few more holes to play. Here's the irony, Jess. The lightning injuries occurred just as the 25th annual National Lightning Safety Awareness Week kicks off this week.
Oh, well, what do you know?
So be safe out there. Watch out for lightning.
This is your PSA. Be safe.
That's right. Be safe out there. The National Lightning Safety Council says it's a good time to remember the dangers that exist. That according to John Jensenius, the lightning specialist with the National Lightning Safety Council, probably tells you don't go out in the ocean if you see lightning. It's probably a good idea. He says we're about to enter the peak of lightning season across the U.S. With the increased lightning activity and the increase of people enjoying outdoor activities, we typically see an increase in lightning fatalities from late June through August. Folks, if you start to see storm clouds roll in, seek shelter. If you start to see the first burst of lightning, get inside.
Yeah.
Don't stand and watch it. It's pretty simple. Yeah.
Be safe. It's not worth it.
That's right. All right. That's going to wrap it up for today. That's your palate cleanser. It's National Lightning Safety Week. Don't stand outside with a metal rod and play Benjamin Franklin. All right. That's what we're asking you to do this
Don't
week.
climb trees in lightning storms.
That's right. Don't do that either. Quick reminder. Tickets are on sale for August 2nd for Potographs for Pooches, the Potographs Fest. I don't remember what we're calling it, but it's myself, Scotty Rorick, and Tim Miley and his wife. And by gosh, we're raising money for the animals, and it benefits the animal shelter in St. Cloud. So by all means, tickets are already over half sold. This thing is going quick. They all sold over half sold the first week, Jess. So
Awesome.
we're on our way to selling out. Get your tickets now. They're going to go quick. They're going to sell out. Get your tickets now while you can. It's August 1st and 2nd. So we will see you there. So get your tickets now. There's a link in the description of this program. Also, if you go to the events section, darknessradioshow.com, the events section, you'll be able to get your tickets for that. Jess, what do you have going on in your world?
You know, not a whole lot, just keeping on writing. So if you see a book you want to buy it up. And if you want one autographed, just shoot me a message.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Tomorrow on the show, Supernatural News with Mally Fox. And then, just then, on Thursday, we're telling some spooky stories.
Ooh, I love spooky stories.
Yeah, with a brand new friend of the show. So that's coming up on Thursday. There you go.
Gonna be fun.
There you go. So that'll do it for today. Then that'll do it for us. We'll see you tomorrow for Supernatural News right here on the best in true crime podcasting. You've been watching and listening to True Crime Tuesday.
For more audio and video archives of True Crime Tuesday, intriguing content, and cool swag, check out darknessradioshow.com. The executive producer of True Crime Tuesday is Troy Palmer. If you enjoyed today's show, make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for Supernatural News with Mally Fox.